Netflix might be coming to Australia, but would we want what they deliver?
And Ultra HD, is it all dressed up but nothing to watch?
Welcome to Vertical Hold, the tech show where we channel surf through the headlines in search of the big picture. I'm Alex Kidman, and this is my partner, the man with the plan, Adam Turner. Adam, give us a quick flick through what's new in tech.
Pay TV giant Foxtel has announced that it's going to branch out next year and become an internet service provider. It's going to offer home phone, pay TV and internet access in a triple play that it hopes will let it compete with Telstra and Optus. Of course, the missing piece from the puzzle is mobile phones, and it'll be interesting to see if Foxtel does a deal with a mobile provider so it can offer a truly rounded package.
Star Wars fans got something to celebrate when the Dark Lord of the Sith himself, Darth Vader, posted his first Instagram selfie. I'm not going to ask how and why they had iPhones a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, because frankly, the evil empire jokes kind of write themselves. I'm a little bit curious why a man quite so mechanical wouldn't be using an Android device, and for that matter, how he's actually operating the camera shutter with a mechanical hand through gloves.
Telstra is the latest major internet player to abandon those annoying captcha tests on its website. Those squiggly words and lines that supposedly distinguish man from machine are really more of a hassle for people than they are for spammers and spam bots. Thankfully, now they're out of the way, we can all get back to trolling each other on the internet like the good old days.
Amazon's developed an amazing system to deliver lots and lots of marketing hype and maybe packages via drone, although it promises to still lose them at a regular rate. It's just that the excuses will be different. They'll be, the drone got shot down, or it decided to fly south for winter. And that's the news bites for this episode. Now over to Adam to talk ultra high definition television. Adam, what's your definitive gripe here?
I'm not sold on it. Like I said, you're paying top dollar to be an early adopter when there's nothing to adopt yet. Why am I going to pay that much money for a television when in a couple of years I can get that television for a lot cheaper and there'll actually be some content for it? The networks aren't going to touch Ultra HD. They're barely touching HD. It's not going to come on disc. It's going to be a long time in Australia before they can deliver it over the internet. So why am I paying top dollar for this television? I'm not sold. I'm not convinced it's worth getting in yet.
So when you say top dollar, how much money are we talking?
Oh, well, the ones that I've seen, the cheap one was $5,000. It kind of starts at about $5,000 for the cheaper brands, depending on how big you want to be. I saw a 65-inch Ultra HD television for under $5,000. Wasn't exactly the best television I've ever looked at. When you get to this size, what you're paying for is video processing. You get a cheap brand that can't do a good job of upscaling your picture, and everything's going to look terrible. So if you're going to spend money on Ultra HD and get a really big television, you've got to spend even more money and get a really good one. And at that point, it's why am I spending this much money on a television that there's nothing I can watch on yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. It's kind of a rough time to buy a TV because there's lots of cheap and decent but not great TVs in the bottom end, yeah. And then you've got these high-end monsters, and you really are paying the price of a family car for them.
Well, if I was going to spend that much money on a television, I'd rather put it towards picture quality rather than resolution. Some people think all there is to picture quality is the number of pixels on the screen, but you can tell, you go down to JB Hi-Fi and have a look on the shelves, there's a difference between 1080p and 1080p. It's all about that back-end processing. So put your money into that. Put your money into a really good LED TV, or even think about something like OLED and get yourself a 50-inch 1080p OLED that's going to look absolutely amazing, rather than go for this higher stuff and have to sacrifice and everything else and still have nothing to watch on it. You're still going to be watching the same Blu-ray movies on it as before anyway.
I agree with you on the OLED. The best pictures I've seen out of current cutting-edge TVs have been OLEDs. They're not exactly cheap though either, are they?
No, they're not, but they're going to get cheaper. And if I was putting top dollar towards something, I'd be wanting to put my money towards something like that. Even off OLED, I want to be putting my money towards video processing, to good backlighting, to, like I said, LED, rather than just extra pixels for the sake of extra pixels. I'm not paying for pixels I can't use. I'm fussy like that. I will not pay for pixels I can't use.
Well, they're there. They're just resting, really.
Yeah, they're resting. But while they're resting, I've spent top dollar on them. I could have kept that money in my pocket, and then put it this way, I could get a television now for $5,000, or get a $2,000 1080p one that looks just as good for Blu-ray. and then in a couple of years' time, for $3,000, I can get a better Ultra HD TV than what I could buy today. So in the same period of time, I spent $5,000 and I've ended up with a better Ultra HD television at the end. There's no point in being an early adopter. All you're doing is doing everyone else a favor by hopefully helping drive the price down. So if you've got, money burning a hole in your pocket, be my guest, buy one, but don't come running to me complaining when you say there's nothing to watch.
So the fundamental lesson here is, rich people, please buy these TVs because we'd like to have them in 3 to 5 years.
Rich person, this is the television for you because then it will get a little bit cheaper for me. Talking about Ultra HD TV, it's interesting that Netflix has been making a bit of noise about trialing streaming 4K content, at least in the US. Now, Alex has also talked that Netflix could be a little bit closer to home next year.
Look, these rumours, they circle around every couple of months, and there's a lot of people out there who kind of think, oh, Netflix would be this great thing to have in Australia. And I'm not entirely sold on that concept.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, actually. Why? Why don't you think it would work here?
Okay, there's a couple of problems. I mean, you've got the obvious stuff like the size of the market. So, Netflix works in the States, and it works in the States at the price it's at because you've got, 300 million people that you can sell it to, and they seem to have a fairly sizable proportion of that audience. You don't have the same audience size here. There just aren't that many people. But the bigger problem that they've got is that Netflix didn't exactly emerge as a whole thing in the US either, but if it came to Australia, you're actually talking a market where a lot of the rights that it wants, a lot of the rights that it's going to want to gobble up, or even that it actually currently offers for its US service, are already bought and paid for. Foxtel's got them, the ABC's got them, Nine's got them, Seven's got them, Ten's got them, SBS has got them, and they've got the internet streaming rights for them. And this means that, potentially speaking, and I mean obviously anything is possible, but potentially speaking, if they launched a Netflix here, it could well be a Netflix Lite. Not the Netflix that you get from the States, but the Netflix that you get in Australia with the rights that they've been able to get.
Exactly. I couldn't see a Netflix actually being that much better than a QuickFlix here. It's going to cost more like QuickFlix does, and you're going to get less. QuickFlix, people might knock them, but they're doing everything they can to get the rights deals they can here. Netflix might have a bit more grunt, but anyone who thinks that Netflix is going to open their doors here magically and we get everything that they've got in the US is dreaming. It's definitely not going to work that way.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, it could backfire even on those early adopters, the people who swear by Netflix now. Because right now, Netflix, it's in their terms and conditions, but they don't exactly seem to care if you pay for a Netflix account with an Australian credit card.
They deliberately changed that. A couple of years ago, they didn't take an Australian credit card, and they went, oh, what's that? And looked the other way, and now you can go in with your Visa card and they'll take your money. So that tells you a lot.
Yeah, but the thing is, they launch locally, you can bet they will flip-flop back the other way. And suddenly it'll become a lot harder to pay for a US account, which may well, of course, offer you more for less money. It's kind of tough. And equally, even looking at the stuff, there's a lot of stuff on US Netflix which is terribly US specific. And if you're not American, if you're not interested in that kind of history of TV stuff, it's not as compelling. Presumably, they'd be replacing that with, classic Australian series. So it'd be, to be every episode of Kingswood Country or Hey Dad or
Lay the Money on the Fridge. Yeah.
Bob Morrison. Yeah, there's there's problems.
Classic, the good stuff.
Yeah, there's issues there because you'd certainly. Yeah. I mean, if I was from a business perspective, if I wanted to launch it, I would want to launch it with some Australian content to appeal to the local audience. And then again, you get into areas like sports where millions of dollars have already been paid to the big codes, and Netflix would have to spend an absolute fortune even if the rights became available.
Could they get into bed with someone here like Foxtel maybe?
Well, they kind of already are. Netflix produced the Kevin Spacey version of House of Cards and showed it all at once on Netflix in the States. Foxtel then came and bought the rights to that a little while later. So there's already a commercial relationship there. But having said that, Foxtel are kind of preempting that. They've already got their IPTV plays. They've got Foxtel Go if you're an existing subscriber. So they're out Netflixing Netflix, and admittedly they're out Netflixing Netflix at a much higher total cost, but then it's a different kind of proposition. Netflix is catch-up TV, is catch-up movies, and then its own small bank of original programming, where Foxtel is doing live sports and doing a lot of other stuff. And this is not meant to be a shill for Foxtel per se, but it is a different kind of product offering.
Well, I mean, it's easy to bag Foxtel, and personally, I don't think it's worth the money. But for some homes it might be. But what you have to give Foxtel credit for is they have done a lot in the last couple of years to see the writing on the wall in terms of the internet and actually do stuff when so many other businesses have just stuck their heads in the sand and hoped this internet thing would go away. Foxtel's seen the writing on the wall and they've come up with some pretty impressive things in the last couple of years. Again, it's not necessarily good value for money for everyone, but at least they're making an effort to keep up with the times rather than others who just get swept aside because they convinced themselves they were untouchable.
Absolutely. For my money, there are two, prominent, big, pushing forward players in the IPTV market in Australia, and that's Foxtel and the ABC. And the ABC model, I view, is mimicking what the BBC's done already, but it's doing it very, very well. If you're interested in local internet TV, they're kind of the ways you go. And then you get mobs like QuickFlix and so on, who are, again, they're out there, they're kind of pushing, but it's tricky. And honestly, I don't think Netflix is going to just come in like some white knight and rescue us all and provide even the same package they've got in the States. I don't see it happening. Not impossible, but I'd be very, very surprised.
Yeah, I think people wishing for Netflix in Australia might be shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, definitely. And now it's time for Love It or Hate It, a regular segment where we pick up a tech product or service and decide whether or not we really should love it or hate it. And this week, Google's Chromecast, its TV Android streaming stick. Adam, you've taken up the role of championing the Chromecast, so why should Australians get really excited by Chromecast?
Yeah, I'm happy enough to love it if you're happy enough to hate it. It's not perfect. I think where it really stands out is if you're trying to stream stuff from your television. If you're interested in Netflix, don't worry about it. It's more trouble than it's worth. But what the Chrome Stick does beautifully, a bit like if with an Apple TV, is you've got a Chrome tab open on your computer. You think, gee, I want to watch this on my television. There's a little icon up in the corner. You click that icon and bang, it's on your TV. Now, if you're an Android person but you've always been secretly that little bit of jealous about the way AirPlay works, a Chrome Stick could be for you. I mean, a Chromecast could be for you. These things are $35, maybe $50 when you get them to Australia. So even if you're just using it to get what's in the browser on your computer onto the television, then it could be a good deal. And if you have hassles getting your catch-up TV and all that on your television because your games console won't play this and your Blu-ray player won't play that and blah blah blah, just put it all on your computer, bang, straight on your television. So from that perspective, I love it. It's one of the slickest things I've seen, apart from, we'll say, AirPlay and an Apple TV, which is going to cost you more than double to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, look, I think the thing with Chromecast is, yes, it's cheaper, but it fits in that cheap and cheerful category for the moment, especially because it's not actually an official Australian product. You mentioned Netflix. It's baked into the Chromecast, but you can't access it from Australia. You've got to do all sorts of really complicated VPN stuff.
You can, but you've got to bend over so far backwards that your head nearly goes up your bum.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a very uncomfortable viewing position.
It
really is.
It's an uncomfortable way to watch television, I can tell you.
And the thing is, the comparison to the Apple TV is a fair one, but I think the Apple TV experience is a lot smoother. I guess if you're really into your Google Play movies, it's okay. And the Chromecasting from tabs is clever, but it doesn't always work. And this is true actually of the Chromecast itself. It doesn't always work. And it's of that style of set-top box where if it doesn't work, you've actually kind of got to pull it out and start again and see whether or not it's doing. And for TV, that's a real pain in the butt. And if you've already got your head up there, it's going to be even worse. Well, that just about wraps it up for this episode of Vertical Hold. We'll see you again in a fortnight.
You stay classy, San Diego.